So I want to begin by framing this, which is, in a room full of early childhood educators, I am nothing but a layperson. To the degree I'm a professional, it's kind of as an agitator for strong civic life. But tonight I approach this as a father, as a citizen, as a resident, and somebody who cares passionately about community. How many of you all have a favorite book from when you were a child? From 1, 2, 3 years old? Yeah, most of you do. Well, this was mine. Oh man, I love this book. We read this book and we read this book and we read this book so much, I could read this book cover to cover before I was 3 years old. Although my mother once told me she played a trick, she wanted to find out if I could really read it. Dogs in cars again. Going away, fast. Yeah, I could read this book cover to cover, even when she covered the words. And of course, I couldn't read the book. I memorized it. But the point is this. How many times do you think that book was read to me before I knew every word? 20, 30, 40, 50 times? How many times did my mother and my father and my brother and my sisters read Go, Dog, Go to me so that I could learn every single word on every single page? And for me, it wasn't just this book. There were lots of books. There were really good books and really awful books. There were Bible stories. There were comic books. There were little golden books, if you remember those. The funny pages, the backs of baseball cards. I was a very fortunate kid. I had 2 college-educated parents who were both teachers, and I had 3 older siblings. So books were everywhere, and reading was constant. I was fortunate, but you know, that fortune doesn't extend to all of our kids. And I don't just mean fortune around reading. Right now, right here in Delaware, there are over 30,000 low-income kids who don't have all of that good fortune. Not just reading. Insecure housing, unsafe neighborhoods, poor education, bad nutrition, unstable family situations. And it matters so much because those kids with all that lack are the kids who are going to find themselves in trouble. They're the kids who are going to have a harder time finding jobs and careers. They're the kids who are going to have a harder time building healthy relationships. And they're the kids who are going to have a harder time leading healthy lives generally. It matters for those kids now. It matters for those kids in the future, their families now and in the future. And it matters for each and every one of us now and in the future, because if we consign a whole group of kids to not having the chance to fully participate in our society, we will all suffer. The good news, as you know, is there's something we can do about it. It starts with reading. Of course, you can read to your kids and you can read to other kids, but more importantly, we need to commit to full, equitable education for early care for... Wait a second. Let me stick with reading for a minute. 1 million words. Children whose parents read to them 5 books a day from 0 to 5 enter kindergarten having heard more than 1 million more words than kids who are not read to. 1 million more words. And oh my goodness, does that matter? It matters for an equitable system where all kids have a chance to participate. If we can address 1 million words, it addresses the unequal education system we have in our country right now. But of course, it isn't just about 1 million words. Let me go back again. Because when you hear me say 1 million words and I throw some rhetoric at you, you probably say, yeah, but what's the real deal here? Give me something concrete to hold on to, so I'm going to do that. Let's talk about reading, and let's talk about exactly what 1 million words by 5 years old gets you. The obvious one, is language skills. Kids who hear 1 million words by 5 years old have a better comprehension of words, of language, of grammar, of sentence structure, and of how stories develop. The early educators in the room know that well, and frankly, the parents and anybody who's read books to kids knows that. Second, stronger neural pathways. You know, research from Washington University School of Medicine shows that when we read, we activate up to 17 different parts of the brain. Research from Emory University shows us that when we read a book, our brain activates in all these places, but not only does it activate, but when we're done reading, that activation lasts for 5 days or more longer. So when you read a book today, a week from now, your brain is still working on that book. Stronger neural pathways. Reading increases kids' concentration. You know, when you first sit down, the kid may be a little squirmy, but by reading over and over in different books, more books, those kids' ability to concentrate through a story increases. Creativity. Let's face it, kids are desperate to show their creativity. Sometimes they do it in ways we don't always love, but they're always showing their creativity, and books are a way to do that. Because when a kid sees the pictures and hears the words, the kid is thinking of different things and what's between the lines and what comes next. And frankly, as an adult, when you've read Go Dog Go 30 times, you're looking for something new. So when that blue dog shows up again, you're saying, look, a blue dog. Have you ever seen a blue dog? What else have you seen that's blue? And you start talking about different things. Creativity. This next one I love. It's not something I knew. Empathy. Research from a 2013 study showed that when people read good literature, it's not just Faulkner, we're talking about Harry Potter and things too, they show a significant ability to infer and understand other people's feelings and emotions. And you know, we could use a little more empathy in this country right now. And finally, and here it is, stronger parent-child relationships. The American Academy of Pediatrics is now recommending to all pediatricians that they stress to parents the importance of reading to kids as a way of increasing their words and their word retention, but also to strengthen parent-child relationships. So what does 1 million words get you? It gets you this. It gets you language skills, stronger neural pathways, concentration, increased creativity, empathy, and stronger parent-child relationships. Reading, in fact, can increase kids' IQ by up to 6 points. It's kind of a magic elixir. But it's not entirely true, is it? Because for too many kids, they don't have access to that elixir. And they don't have access to that elixir of increased math learning or problem-solving skills, or frankly, just a family that is working well and not dealing with constant stress. Kids with 2 parents who graduated from high school or less, by the time they are 4 years old, on average, will be up to a year behind in verbal and math skills. A year behind at 4 years old. That is a tragedy. And not only that, but those same parents who are working hard, who may be working 2 minimum wage, 3 minimum wage, 4 minimum wage jobs between them, they're also the parents who can't afford the quality programs that are going to give the kids the things that they can't afford to give them. These parents, by the way, they're giving a disproportionate amount of their money to take care of their kids, more than upper middle class people have to do. And they can't afford the good programs, so they get lesser quality programs or erratic or sporadic care for their kids in ways that could help them. And that, too, is a tragedy. What we need is a stronger structure that addresses the needs for all of our kids, All of our kids, all of our kids. It starts with reading, but the 1,000,000 words is just the window into all the other inequities that exist. It's just a way to get into the issue and start to look at the structural problems. So what I would say to you is you can help solve this problem. Each and every one of you can help solve this problem. Number one, read to your kids. Read to your neighbor's kids, read to your sister's kids, to your brother's kids. Go volunteer. Volunteer at a school, at a community center, at a church, at the library. Read to kids so the kids who don't have that in their lives get more of it and their brain develops and they increase their concentration and do the other things. And number two, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your family, tell anybody you can that this matters and they too can help by reading. And third, and perhaps most important, talk to your elected officials. We can't let this stand. Talk to your elected officials and tell them we need to commit the resources so that all of our kids have great educational, infrastructural support from 0 to 5 so that by the time they get to school, they're ready to go. And what do we get from that? What does this 1,000,000 words and more buy us? It buys us kids who have a chance at the American dream. It buys a stronger future for these kids, and it buys a stronger future for all of us. Thank you.